again, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Fun and Games Podcast. I'm Geoff Moonen.
And I am Maddie K. Stormageddon.
And you're listening to episode 201. And this episode, we're really excited for you to find out what we have in store for you. Check out the previews for it. Repost this episode. If you use the code Fun and Games, you win the chance to win a free copy of this episode you're in fact listening to. Tell everyone all about it, because really, everything is about community when it comes to games, communication, just about everything we're doing on this. I mean, I say it's a conversation at the end of every episode, but what is a conversation without community? And joining us, writer of the book Mastering Community Management, we are joined by returning guest Victoria Tran. Welcome back.
Hi, thanks for having me.
We're so excited to have you here. It's been like 5 years, which is crazy. That feels like another lifetime in video games. It just seems bizarre.
Yeah. You were just coming out of working with Kit Fox around that point, and a lot's happened since then.
Yeah, you could say that. It definitely feels like another life, but here I am, apparently in the same life.
In the same life? Back in the same life.
Semantics.
I was so excited to hear that you were writing a book because I have admired your community management style since we first met back in the trenches of indie game support and at a convention on the show floor. But like, you've gone on to kind of become this legend at Inner Sloth for doing some, let's say, unorthodox community management methods. I guess to start, before diving into the book itself, did you always want to write a book? Is this a thing you had ever really thought of before you started it? Or did it just kind of like come to you more suddenly?
It came to me in a dream, actually. No, I'm joking. That didn't happen. I was thinking of lying and just making up some epic tale of like this book that I've always wanted to write. But in full honesty, no, I never really thought, like the same way that you might like think of going to the gym. I was like,
oh, yeah.
Right? I was like, I would write a book, right? But it never really came into fruition until my editor actually at CRC Press like messaged me and was like, hey, do you want to write a book? And it was just like that easy in. And I was like, how hard could it be? You know, how difficult could writing a book be? I write a newsletter every month. Surely a book is just a longer newsletter, and realized how much work that it actually was. So it was more of like me writing this book was my folly. I was like Icarus flying too close to the sun, and suddenly I couldn't stop falling. All that to say is that once like I actually get started and then I was thinking about it more, it's like, it's true that one of the things that had always kind of bothered me about community management is that there's no like real path forward. I think there's a lot of great resources online, but you know, if you're starting from the ground, there's so much out there that it's really hard to kind of aim one direction and like kind of go from there. As I was writing, I realized, oh, actually, this is what I want the book to become. And not necessarily like, you know, the lesson for how to community manage, but like a good base and starting point, whether you're new or whether you're experienced, to be like, okay, where are like the gaps in my knowledge? What can I improve on? What do I find interesting and want to explore? And that book can become that.
Especially because community management is such a forward-facing, public-facing thing. People see it all the time. And as with many things that people see all the time, you go, well, I've seen it, so I know everything there is to know about it. Or it's very easy to kind of see bits and pieces and not know how or even if they are connected. So you can very easily just kind of circle the drain the whole time, feel like you're making motion, but you're only doing the same thing round and round. But much like how probably if you'd said, I'm going to write a book without your editor going, hey, here's some support, it's a very different experience. And so a way forward is a godsend.
Truly, especially again with all the content on the internet, you know, like
yes.
It's so difficult at this rate to just narrow down what you need to do.
It is such an odd muscle to flex. I feel like people don't necessarily know that is a muscle to flex, to have that sort of like critical filter for everything you're seeing.
It's true. That's very true. That's a whole other podcast topic. I'm not gonna lie. I'm like, oh, I could dive into this. I was like, no, resist.
Yeah. See, there you go. Filtering. Nicely done.
There we go.
Something fun from the minute I picked up your book is that having known you for as long as I have and having had many conversations with you, immediately your voice comes through. And I love a book like that feels like the author is talking to you. I also like how quickly you sell yourself out in like the first 10 pages as far as things you've done when you were younger, involved in communities. Yeah, not you. Or my favorite thing is at the end of, I think, the opening chapter, you acknowledge how many times you've said community in that chapter, and then also say, and now I'm going to try not to do that for the whole book, but you can feel free to count along. You just bring a humor to the spaces you're in. Was that always the kind of voice you wanted to bring to this? Because it's clearly also a workbook and a guide for people who want to engage in community management. And as someone who has done community management for several podcasts, basically by the skin of my teeth with no guide, I've felt it very helpful, but there's definitely a tongue-in-cheek nature to it, like a lot of your community posts as well. Was that always the voice you wanted to bring to this, kind of make it light, talk about serious stuff, but also kind of give some humor to the scene?
Oh, definitely. I think some of the beauty of community management is that you can really put your voice into it, whether that's like a brand voice or your own voice. Obviously, for my book, I will put my own voice into it. Similar to how I think a lot of game designers will talk about, designing a game that you really like playing. It's like, I want to write a book that I would enjoy reading and that I have fun writing, because if I tried, and I've done this for talks where I've tried to be in my mind, I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to be so cool and serious. I'm going to drop bangers and there's going to be mic drops. It's going to be so good. And those are always my worst talks, because I'm trying to become, this aspect of myself that I'm really not and I can't really do very well. So when I was writing the book, it's like the humor, I think, hopefully helps you continue reading, even though it is sort of a textbook, but also just is fun to read and hopefully helps you digest it a little bit easier and helps you kind of get the tone that I'm hoping to instill.
Given that there is such a, I don't want to say technical aspect to community management, it's so much of it is not technical, it is not artistic, but it is both. I would imagine having your personal voice, an anecdotal sense, is so much more useful than metrics that are going to be out of date by just now, or social platforms that existed when you wrote them but don't anymore, or vice versa. Having the idea of your lessons and your experience is far more paramount. Did any experiences or anecdotes or anything come up that you kind of forgot until you started writing? I always find that, we learned more when we teach, and I would imagine that writing a book and compiling those notes is the ultimate hell of that. So
it really is. I think, honestly, it's that similar thing of, when you know how to do something, you don't consider it as a skill because you're like, it just comes to me. And that was so much of this book and the, community management, because I was like, I have to start from the beginning, and then I would be writing. I was like, oh, but there's also this thing that I consider, and there's also this thing I have to consider when I'm doing community management. And it came so innately to me, and I had forgotten about it until I had to write it down. And I think a really big actual anecdote that I have for this is the struggle of writing about social media during this book. If you read this book, I was writing it when TikTok US had its 24-hour shutdown. I had it when Twitter became X. And the entire time this was happening, I was just sweating, writing my book, being like, okay, well, so it might not even exist by the time this book is out. So I definitely need to talk more about, okay, when I approach any social media platform, what actually goes on in my mind. Because something does happen. It just, I've never really had to talk about it, because I was like, oh yeah, you just talk about Twitter. But now let's just talk about written social media and what happens there.
What I really want to know is if in this book you answer for your crimes of creating the spider bean and the horse bean and long beans. Do you really dig into why that insanity that you put upon all of us?
No, I think and to be clear, the team made those images. I just shared them.
Of course.
But I think any meme, any recent meme that you don't understand, you just have to accept it. Don't question it. It is just in existence now. All of humanity has led to this very moment where you see an Among Us with 6 legs.
I, for one, welcome the arachnid bean and will accept its terrifying and many-limbed rule.
You know what? What's another unprecedented time?
I mean, we've lived through so many already. I do love how in this book, though, you really do get down to basics. As someone, like I said, who's been doing kind of cobbled together community management for podcasts, mostly social media posting, what I like here is that you assume some things, but for the most part, you start from very basic, granular, like, this is what community management is. This is what building a community is. This is how you build community. These are the different kinds of communities that exist. I imagine that there was a lot of research you had to do for the book, too. Did you discover anything new, maybe even outside your own purview as you were like pulling together information, things that you were surprised to learn, or even like looking at other communities, your peers, that kind of thing as you wrote this book?
I think the act of writing a book, like you said, it's just like you learn a lot from it. I think I came out with more questions than
Fair.
answers.
Yeah.
Right? Because the way I wrote my book, it's definitely focused towards indie studios. And the more I dived into it, the more I was like, oh man, like, is this what it looks like in AAA? Because like that's definitely one thing I don't have, which is the AAA experience. I've worked in like some bigger studios on the off chance or consulted, but that's not the same thing as, being right in there. So I had a lot of questions from there, and I couldn't put in the book a lot of the time because it was already getting a little bit too long and I was maybe late on my deadline. But I ended up talking to a lot of like community managers in AAA, just, hey, like, can you like check this? Like, how does this look? How do you do it where you are? And I think that kind of learning experience was really nice. And it does speak to how, especially when you're working with people, with players, with community, there's a lot of commonalities, but there's also so random and you can never account for something that someone will do.
I can only imagine. I mean, on the one hand, I would feel like community management for an indie to a AAA, there's a lot in common, but I would imagine you get very different kind of fanaticism.
Yeah, it's interesting. The fanaticism almost comes in different ways because, like, you have obviously, it depends on the genre, but then sometimes with indies, because you get more access to the indie, like more direct access to the indie, the fanaticism is like right at the developer. And that's also really scary instead of like, this
Yeah.
corporate entity that you can kind of blame on anything. It's a very interesting experience, that's for sure.
You mentioned that you may have been a little late on your deadline, but how long did the book take you to write? And when did you start in earnest? And like, what was that journey like? How long did it take? Did it take longer than you expected?
Yeah. So I don't remember the exact month I started. I believe it was like 2023 March. All that to say is that I was like, it will surely take me a year to write this because I write fast and I often write. And then it became 2 years where it finally happened. You always seem to underestimate, the big project. Similar to a game being developed, honestly. The
Sure.
delays are inevitable. My editor was like, especially for a first-time author, there's no way you're hitting that deadline.
At least
good.
they
So
had
they already
reasonable
knew.
thoughts on it.
Yeah. I was like,
yeah.
I'm so sorry. It's going to be late. He's like, yeah, I know.
Oh, okay.
Well, in that time, and what I'm sure is finding all of those questions while writing all of this down, putting all of the thoughts that you have you had any interesting perspective shifts, paradigm shifts in how you view what you do, what the conversation is between company and gamers has been?
I think, and it's still unanswered, but I think I actually went through a little bit of an internal struggle of like, is the internet good?
Okay. I can see where that would come from.
At least once a week, I think that. Okay,
Right?
let's
And
go.
I thought that a lot too. But when you're like writing about a book about being online, and then during this online thing, a lot is happening in this time on the internet. You're like, how odd. This is giving me a lot to think about. But it actually, in its own way, reinforced, I think, how I feel about community management, though, as a positive, because I think, as we've probably seen from Twitter turning to X and other similar things, it's like when you don't have people who truly like care about the people who are interacting with it, and it's more the tech companies, and it's more about the profits, and it's more about making sure people stay online as much as possible. It really shifts things a different way. Being able to write this book was actually a really nice exercise of that, of like, okay, so it's really easy to get really depressed over the internet and over how things are and be like, dang, well, this sucks and I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to continue participating and complaining about, yeah, which, is fine. I'm not knocking anyone for being like, this sucks and I'm just going to complain about this. But I think the beauty of being in community management and being in these kind of spaces is that you have some sort of hand in helping to shape how people think, how people interact, and how they understand each other. And that was really nice to kind of get more into.
A lot of times in communities and fandom spaces, as we enter them, we model the behavior we see. Gamers of a certain age going into YouTube, going into everything else, where most of the online criticism was based off of James Rolfe, based off the angry video game nerd, and the fun thing to do is to just shit on things. Well, people are going to keep doing that because that's the behavior you have. Providing another script, another way of being, and another like, hey, I'm coming in here. What is this? Hi, welcome. Check these things out. What's going on? Is, I would imagine, a lot healthier and a lot more sustainable.
I would hope so.
Fingers crossed.
Also, in the time since we last spoke and you joining the incredible folks at Inner Sloth and helping lead and grow their community there, you as a studio have announced Outer Sloth, which is you're publishing games as well, which is incredible. I'm curious if you see a significant difference in the community management aspect of that. You're helping existing studios get their games off the ground. I know you guys worked with Click Holding, which is a game. It's definitely a game.
It is a gaming experience, and I love it.
Yeah. I'm curious, like, what kind of support that looks like, because obviously it's different from something internal, and what you learned from that experience as well.
Gosh, yeah. So Outer Sloth is very specifically our games fund, and we try to make it as on purpose low effort on our end as possible, because at the end of the day, we don't want to become a publisher. We want to still make our own games, but obviously we don't want to just sit on like a dragon hoard of money and do nothing with it. So we're trying to fund other games. So when it comes to community management and working with developers, I will give them advice, but I don't like directly go in there and help them with the communities or anything. It's an interesting like two-parter when it comes to community management. Like one part of the community management is like community managing a bunch of developers and creating a space where they feel comfortable in, where they feel they can share progress and have fun with that, but also they can ask a lot of questions to each other, because in lieu of me and Forrest not being able to necessarily to help them directly, we have a bunch of Outer Sloth studios with a wealth of different experiences who can help each other. And I think that has been really fulfilling and fun to kind of dive into. It's like community management with professionals. And that is an interesting line of like, okay, like, making sure they are having a good time and they're having fun, but it still remains like really like truly business productive, which is really cool. And then obviously like kind of watching from afar and seeing how they handle their communities, how they think about their communities and their players and the ways that they're trying to connect with them. And unfortunately, fortunately, we've signed 23 games. Unfortunately, that means I have very little time between all of them to actually, directly help out. So I can really only watch from afar and maybe step in if like I really have a suggestion that I need to throw out there. But it's really interesting. So it's a really good learning experience, I think.
Is that more of an experience given that you have to kind of just basically go, are you on fire? No? Cool. Is it something where everybody feels comfortable coming to you if it really does reach a critical point where it's like, hey, I could use a little bit of help here, please?
I would hope it's the latter. I really try I try to do that. And I think it's great because everyone's very respectful of like each other's time and they like never want to bother me if I'm too busy, but I'm like, no, please do. If there is something out there that you really need me for. It is a really nice experience, I hope, for all the developers involved, because it is a very nice one for me.
Especially since the indie game community is not one that really needs to be everybody at each other's throats or against each other. You're not fighting for time or views or people. You are putting out something that you love, and that's going to draw in the people that want it. So I can only imagine that this kind of community, yet again, can only help.
Yes, for sure. Related and not a productive conversation at all. I was just having a conversation with an indie about this. I feel like there does actually need to be some indie tea. Just a little bit of infighting for fun, you know? Someone needs to have beef with each other. I don't know who that would be, and I don't want it to be me, but I do want to watch.
Right. If anybody just finds a point where they're, developing a game going, I'm a little bored.
Yeah.
Hey, have you considered starting a fight?
Yeah. Right? Just a little distraction. I'm just going to put that out there.
Not a real one. Just have a little fun.
Yeah. Love that the community podcast is now about fighting and starting a fight.
Fighting, yeah. No one on the internet has a take ever. No one has takes, no.
Because it's about bits. Come on. What is community but in jokes?
Without bits.
You're right.
And that's a little bit of fun, and everybody can have their take on the, cake versus pie debate of indie gaming. Balls versus blocks. What are better for puzzle games? So when you really break it down, a lot of puzzle games are ball games or block games.
I mean, do we like Sokoban puzzles or do we not like Sokoban puzzles? I think that's what it really comes down to.
Is Breakout a ball game or a block game? Personally, I say ball.
No, but it's blocks. You're breaking blocks.
Yeah.
You're breaking blocks, but your method of control is ball.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's ball. I think it's ball. I'm
All
sorry.
right, I've been outnumbered
here.
That's fine.
That's okay. You can feel what you're feeling, and you put that out there, and people are going to be interested. Listener, let us know. What do you think?
Right, exactly. Is it a ball or a block game? It's funny you mentioned the tea thing because, I do think it's great, but it's interesting that indie games seem to be more of the mindset of a rising tide raises all ships, right? Like a lot of indie communities, that tends to be the case. But we did see a little bit of that this year with the sudden release of Silksong, right? Like, there was some discussion about, does Team Cherry owe it to other publishers or developers to say something or not? And I have to imagine for any semblance of community management with that, that's got to be something no one expected to have to engage with. In the AAA space, I feel like that happens often. Poor Horizon, every time it comes out, another AAA game is stomping all over its release date. But in the indie game space, because there's so many more of them, I feel like that's just less of a conversation. I'm curious what it's like to engage with new things, right? Like, I imagine at this point, you've seen everything. You're an expert now, so you don't experience any new fires anymore. But like, what's that like to see something even from another studio? You may be a part of that community, but you're not involved in the community management space and go, that's a problem I've not thought of. I imagine you see stuff like that all the time that you take note of to like figure out how you would engage with those moments.
I have so many of those. Do you remember Luigi Mangione?
Oh,
do I?
My God.
Speaking of uncalled for events.
Good night, folks. Amazing. Bless you.
How do I put this? I broke.
No, you're doing great. You're doing great. Okay. Please continue.
Okay. There is very little that surprises me anymore. Is how I will say how I handle things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When it comes to community, and this comes honestly similar to, I think, any senior position in any place, like you start to experience enough that it kind of just washes over you when a new thing comes up. You're like, okay, well, this has happened. Then you start going down, like for me, actually, it's like I go down a list of like, okay, what is currently happening? Are people angry? Are people sad? Are people amused? Are people confused?
Right.
How are we feeling? And if the feelings are like quite heightened, like we're feeling really angry or really sad, then we actually need to take a step back from this because we're too heightened in emotion to probably logically think this out and like think of the consequences, think of the things that might be good if we like respond one way or bad if we respond the other way. Being able to take a step back, I think, is actually just the key moment here to be like, I don't need to actually immediately respond to this. Then you start digging around for like, okay, who needs to be roped into this conversation? What are my suggestions? I think that's one thing that really helps anyone. I think if you're, I guess this is career advice now, like if you're trying to stand out a little bit with management, is like, you see the problem and then you can come up with like a few different solutions and like reasonings for why you think those solutions are good. It's kind of how I handle it, honestly. It very much is an instance of like, I've experienced enough that I'm like, look, if I'm feeling a certain type of way about this, give me 10 minutes. I'm going to make some tea. I'm going to think about this. I'll come back to you.
And I would imagine you have been asked to give a companies your take on things that have had nothing to do with the game, the studio, yourself. And yeah, that's a blindsider right there. That is an isekai truck.
Oh yeah, Truck-kun has hit me, and I'm in a new world.
Amazing.
So the book is out. You're doing some incredible work at Inner Sloth and Outer Sloth. Do you actually have time to play video games, Victoria?
I do, but I actually don't play that many games. Admittedly, I'm a fake gamer. Out me now.
Fake gamer
fake
girl.
gamer girl.
Oh, no.
I've been biting my controller this entire time, and no one's noticed. Yeah, I really don't. But that's also because I have the kind of personality where, like, if I get really sucked into a game, it's all I'm thinking about. I'm on this podcast right now, and I'm like, I could be playing Hades too, but I gotta resist. I gotta resist.
Have you always been someone who's been a focused gamer where like you get obsessed with like one or two games and you focus in on them?
Yeah, I'm definitely the sort of like, it's going to become my whole life and consume me for a week, and then I'm sick of it forever. And I actually never want to see it again. It's the kind of way I go about things. So when it comes to, like trying to balance work and stuff, like I'll play like demos, and if, people need me to play test things, I can do that and I'll end it there. But like if I'm actually trying to enjoy a game, I have to wait until like I have a really long flight coming up or there's a holiday coming up, and then I'll go for that.
I love that. So obviously Hades 2 is a big one for you right now. Did you jump into that as soon as it came out? Was that one that you were just like looking forward to and couldn't wait to?
No, I didn't play it as soon as it came out. I was actually waiting until I had a flight. I was just at a wedding this past weekend. I was waiting, and then I got to start.
You waiting, and now it's all you can think of at all times.
Yeah, there's no work getting done.
Real. That's fair. That's fair.
Now your book is out, and obviously the first thing you want to be asked after just writing a book is if you'll ever write another book again, because that's totally what you want to think about. But I imagine you've learned a lot about that process and like could probably more easily see yourself writing something else now having done this before.
Yeah, I don't ever want to write a book again. But hear me out. I think similar to releasing a game, or what I have heard many mothers say is, where you forget the pain of your first child, like the childbirth.
Right.
Like that's going to happen at some point. Like I'm still in the infant stage where I'm like, oh, this book was so much work. I don't want to go through that pain again. But a few months from now, after I have some rest, after I, finish playing Hades, I'll be like, that wasn't so bad. I could definitely do this again.
I could do that
How
again.
hard could it be? And then it'll be, then we're downhill from there.
Amazing.
Must make writing the monthly newsletters a cinch now. You're like, a couple pages, I can do that in my sleep.
Exactly. It's great. The bar was set so high, and now the newsletter is nothing.
Right. Right, exactly. Perspective is everything. I mean, now that you've done that, the sky's the limit.
At what point of scale in writing beyond the size of a newsletter do you then go, oh, I'm in way over my head with a book?
I think the thing that hit me with the book was more that, because with a newsletter, the minute I get bored of writing about a topic, send it out.
You're done.
You're done.
Yeah.
It's sketch writing. You're not writing a movie. You're writing a bit.
Exactly. And I don't need to, and I can like hyperlink, and I don't need to like explain the reasoning before the newsletter. It's just like, we're just talking about influencers now. Do you know about influencers before? And if you don't, too bad. I guess this newsletter is not for you, right? But with the book, you need to give all the context, and then you need to think about all the different things that connect to that topic, and then you have to structure it in a way that makes sense. It's not even necessarily the content. I think it's so much of the things surrounding it and like making it an experience that makes sense was a pretty big struggle.
Thinking on that, because I'm just going to drive this into the ground for a moment, approximately how many newsletters do you think you wrote for the book that you then just had to build the most elaborate scaffolding? Was that like chapter by chapter? It's like, this could have been a newsletter, but I had to put it in print?
Oh my gosh. I feel like I don't even know how many newsletters that would be, because I had to like,
because it's not word count.
You're right. Yeah. I don't know, actually. Oh no. I'm going to guess like, because I only do a newsletter once a month, and it's like, let's say like 800 words. I don't know. Like newsletters done until like 20. Oh my God, we're in 2025. Okay, let's say 20.
We are
35.
Exactly.
Yeah,
10 years of newsletters in one
done.
book.
We're good.
There we go.
That's the new tagline. Exactly. I have the very important question now of asking, how did you choose the 4 emojis that you put on your cover?
Yeah.
I want to know the story behind that, because I look at this and go, yeah, that makes sense because I've had a conversation with you. But I feel like there was like some intent behind that to kind of convey a message as well.
Yes.
It's a coat of arms.
Oh my gosh, it is a coat of arms. Huh. Well then. Well, first, shout out to the cover. It was made by the lovely Joe Torado, who is the marketing director over at System Arrow Softworks. They work on Astroneer and Starseeker.
Nice.
Yes, it's great. I was actually going to use a template that the editor gave me, and he was like, "No, let me design you a cover." I was like, "Oh, okay." And the way that we got to the icons, obviously, is like, we also wanted to talk about communication. So, the speech bubble, the @ sign made sense because it's the internet. The heart, just because, I don't know, it's kindness. I love love. The last one, which is the devil icon, was actually supposed to be an eggplant emoji. I specifically was like, can we make it an eggplant emoji? Do you think they'll let it fly? He's like, I'll try. Unfortunately, it didn't, graphic design wise, it didn't look as it didn't work as well. So we kind of went with the devil emoji instead, just to be like, hey, just a little bit of chaos. But it kind of went with the tagline, which is like chaos, community, compassion, I believe.
Yeah.
I don't even know my own tagline. Great. But yeah, it all kind of tied together, because I think no matter what, as much as you plan, as much as you prepare for things, as much as you have a contingency plan for whatever goes wrong, there's that level of chaos that you can just never account for. And it needs to be on that front of the cover.
Everyone has a little bit of tinder and kindling of chaos, and we randomly get sparks.
Exactly.
But chaos is so important, not only to this book and your story, but the story of the studio you work for, right? When talking with other people about games and how important community is, I talk about Among Us, a game that I spent many hours like other people playing. We've talked before just about how that game had been out for a while. And then it got picked up by streamers and other folks, and community started playing it. And then it blew up in a way that was not projected, but it added chaos. And then stepping into that role of, oh, well, now I've got this giant community. How the hell do I manage it? And so I think chaos is really key, because I feel like that's kind of at the heart of, for sure, Inner Sloth and Among Us' story.
Definitely. Honestly, I think that's kind of the idea for any game, any community. Whether the game did well or not, there's a certain level of chaos to it. Among Us's chaos was, I don't even know if there's another game that has blown up later in its life Among Us. So it was a very particular kind of chaos. But I think the ability to roll with it and to accept it, similar to what I was talking about before, of look, things are just going to happen. You're going to have to let it wash over you, or else it's going to drive you insane. It's a lot of fun, honestly, to deal with. Keeps life exciting.
I have to imagine that's where the humor comes in, right? You have to laugh at some of that stuff. I know that for stuff that you would write for social media and other stuff that you've done, there's very much leaning into the he of it all. You can't logic your way out of that kind of chaos per se. You kind of have to lean into the wave and just see where it takes you.
Oh, for sure. And I think it's one of those things where a lot of the time people will think oh, you can't be in community management unless you have that brain rot, whatever Gen Z, Alpha, Beta humor is going on currently. And games that are more serious or that are more cozy or whatever other thing that doesn't necessarily lend itself to a memey humor won't work online. And I don't think that's true. I think obviously all of those games have their own brand of chaos, and it doesn't need to be the hee haha kind of chaos, but you still need to be able to accept it as it is and be okay, in this case, then, how am I responding to it in a way that makes sense with the genre, with the voice that the game has or the studio has, etc.
Yeah. There is no template. It is all about a communication, a back and forth of everybody. Yeah. What is the intent of the game? What is the branding that the people behind it want? What is the branding that they're kind of getting? What do the people want, et cetera, et cetera? And yeah, there is no one size fits all on that. There are some memes that can work for almost everything, but no one does. And some games don't deserve, they don't need memes, which is usually when they get the weirdest ones.
It's true, actually. That's very true.
As someone who's been writing reviews monthly for a year and is learning very much about what my voice is, I'm curious, when you were writing, Were there words or phrases that you, in like a first draft, kept seeing and you're like, why do I use this so much? Like, did it bring to light vocabulary repetitiveness that you hadn't really kind of noticed until you were writing in a long form? Because I definitely see it even in short form reviews.
100%. Like, so much of my editing was just removing the same words over and over again. I was like, Victoria, shut up. You're so annoying. Use a different word. I really love, I can't think of it now, but I love words that were like, oh, regardless, or like, just the things that kind of start, what are those kinds of words?
Like transitional words,
Transitional,
however,
yes.
regardless.
I love those kinds of words. I also love using the word just everywhere. It won't stop. Why?
If you could just stop.
Exactly.
Well, you're writing in such a long form that you are working on defining and you are working on creating those parameters and sometimes having those things where it's like, yes, it's this, and this. However, it can't always be that. Or you think it's this. It's just, those are some of the most powerful tools. Makes sense to keep running into them. Also, as somebody who will relentlessly use those same words, I have no leg to stand on. So
Yeah. I'm also very guilty of, saying something and then you add something in parentheses. Then you say something. and
that's
you add
the
something.
ADHD.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's just,
That's in the internet. Yeah.
It's real.
I started doing it at my day job and then I go, wait, are these people online enough to know what I'm doing? It's like when you use the double colon to like mark an action also, which
yes.
to me is like everybody knows that, but like using it in other professional spaces, like, wait, am I too internet right now? Do people really understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I love finding out how to bold and italicize words in any chat client that I'm in because I need those. Those cut out
Emphasis.
about a third of the words that I type. I just need to emphasize.
Yes, I agree. Life is so hard for us.
It's so
It's so
hard.
So hard.
I'm glad that you see it, Victoria. The other question I had about the book is structurally, obviously it has a very chronological flow as like starting small and then kind of building. Was it written that way too? Or did you kind of pick topics and kind of cobble it together?
I definitely did the pick topics, cobble it together sort of deal, and then figured out the structure because I realized a big thing that was setting me back while I was writing the book was I thought I had to actually start like chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. And I was getting bored, or I was like, I don't have the energy to write about this right now, but I'm like currently very interested in like what chapter 8 is going to talk about. So maybe I should just start with that instead. I realized it was better to just get that ugly first draft down, even if it wasn't perfectly structured, even if they didn't flow into each other very smoothly. Like I just needed to get the words down and then I could slot it in later. And that was very helpful.
I've often heard that in a lot of writing advice, even for fiction, where it's, write the scenes you want to write. Now figure out how to get there, put the index cards down, and just move them around. That instinct of like, no, it has to be like this in this order, this. I don't know why we all think it, but we all think it. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, I wonder if it's just because we're used to like, obviously like we read that way. So it's like you have to write that way.
Yeah, I think it's this linearness that we take things in, right? Like most people, at least, unless you're a monster, doesn't go to the last chapter of a book when you're reading it for the first time. Because I was also very much the same way. Like I would write a review and be like, all right, well, I'm going to do this part first, and then the second part this, and I'll talk about this part later. And then I was like, wait, why am I going in order? What does it matter? Let's just put the stuff on the page. And I found that once I let myself just go, well, I want to talk about the music because I really like this composer and the music in this game. So I'm going to start there. And so I start there and then I'll go to the story and then maybe reorder it later. But I think it's that freedom of like when you're creating something, you have to just kind of go where the creativity is taking you, not worry about, well, chapter 1, I have to talk about this very specific thing and then I'll go to the next thing. I feel like that would be crazy making. And so I'm not surprised that you kind of wanted to go where the interest was and kind of find a way to weave it together.
Definitely.
Do you find that with social posts or creating a story that way too? Sometimes it's like, well, we have these specific scheduled posts for like announcements, community events, whatever, but then I'm going to weave in the chaos somewhere. And like, because I feel like writing a really memey post here, I'm just going to slot that in somewhere.
Yeah. And those are always the best ones where you like spend like 5 seconds thinking about it. You're like, sure, I'll just throw it out there. Then you're like, no, it did so well.
But you don't get that one without doing all the other ones before it.
Oh, for sure. And you have like having a bunch of duds that like, no one sees. And they see your one hit one. They're like, how does she do it? I'm like, you really did not see everything that came before this.
You're not seeing the bodies I'm standing on right now.
Oh, 100%. But yeah, I have like just a graveyard of like draft posts that just never see the light. And then, if I ever need some inspo, I'll like go back and just look in it and just be like, oh, actually, I could rework this one a little bit more. And obviously, there are the times that it comes off the top of my head. The thing that they say you shouldn't do in social media is like, I actually don't like to schedule posts ever. I will know something needs to come up and I'll be like, I'm not going to schedule.
I got it.
I'll just post it at like, it comes out at 10. Oh, okay. I got it like ready at like 10:01. Like I'll have like obviously like the copy ready and like everything approved and stuff. But like for some reason, I just love the feeling of just being in there, like on Blue Sky, let's say, and copying and pasting it in there, checking it over and be like, okay, it's ready to go. I have had to change that because now I have a community team, which are amazing and lovely, but they do not want me just to chaotically post whatever I want. So I'm like, all right.
Cowards.
That's fair. Fair enough.
No, they're right.
And that must be really exciting also to have started as like kind of the beginnings of this community management team and now building out a team, having people working under you. It was kind of really heartwarming to me to start seeing some of those other members of the team posting on like the TikTok and making very stupid videos and being in the videos. It just must really feel gratifying to like come to this place where now you're helping create new community managers and like set a path for people in this field that you've been working in for so long.
Yeah, it is. But I will like fully admit that at the start, it was such a struggle to like let go of things. I was like, no, like I know how to do it. And like I can do it really fast. And like I don't need any help. I have done it before by myself. It's lazy of me to think that I need. And I'll also, probably a control thing, just to be like, oh, I like,
sure.
I don't need any help. But now that I finally have like let go and I've seen them thrive, I'm like, I feel like a mom. I don't have kids. I don't want kids, but suddenly I'm like,
right,
my children.
Look at those ducklings fly.
Oh, it's amazing. So this is what motherhood is.
Yeah, I as the person who used to manage and produce 8 podcasts at once, I couldn't even imagine what Control Freak was. Thankfully, they weren't all mine, but like letting go is hard. And so I totally get it. Now I only have 2 podcasts and I'm actually very happy now. But I get that, right? Like this urge to like, you were in the trenches, you were doing the thing, and then you have to trust someone else to do the thing. But I have also found, as I've learned, to share the workload with Geoff and not try and do everything myself, which has saved me my sanity. I think it's kind of fun to also then see how other people work in that space and how you can communicate. I find that, at least on the podcast for me and Geoff, when we're in sync, we're really in sync. We've worked together for a long time. We know what we want to do. There's a trust, and like people are going to make mistakes. Things are going to go wrong. That's just kind of life. But the understanding that people have got your back also must be really satisfying to know that you don't have to go it alone. If something terrible comes up or if something goes awry, you also have that team to lean on to kind of help see you through that process as well.
Oh, 100%. And it's also just nice to have other people to bounce your ideas off of, right? So much of the fun of community is having that like back and forth. And sometimes if you need to workshop something, it's like, is this funny or not? And having someone else like to talk to is incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Being alone in your own.
Being alone in your thoughts. Oh gosh.
No, please no. That's why we're still talking.
It's also that sort of thing. It's like, me and an activity. Okay, yeah, cool. I'll come up with the funniest thing while I'm folding laundry. Great, cool. But now I have to sit down and do it. Oh, no.
Oh, yeah, I know. And then, you have like several other things that require your attention. You're like, no.
And every little hiccup or obstacle that comes up is another moment to doubt, is another, like, everything about it. Yeah. Did you have a moment, a thing that you did or whatever it was that, like, really made you feel, all those years ago, it's like, I'm pretty good at this. I think I got this. I think I could do a lot of this.
Huh. The weird thing is sort of no, but sort of, there definitely have been moments of that where I'm like, I guess I can do this and this is good.
Or is it more like hindsight where you come to a point, you pick your head up and go, I guess I've been doing this for a while. Oh, people are asking me questions about it. Yes. Oh, I guess I'm an authority on this?
Yes. I've accidentally become important at work. I'm like, no, what happened?
Damn it.
Yeah, that's a better explanation of the feeling. Because honestly, when I talk to the co-founders of the Inner Sloth team, like they have this exact same feeling, right? Like when Among Us was like peak popularity, everyone was playing it. All the celebrities were playing. It's like, I like asked them like, how did you feel? And they're like, we didn't feel anything because we were too busy. We were too busy just being in the trenches working on this thing. And it doesn't hit you until much later when you like take a breath and you're like, huh, wait a minute. That was kind of crazy. And I think that's how I feel about my work. It's like when I'm right in it, when I'm handling a situation, when I'm, creating a campaign, when I'm coordinating different aspects, when I'm making a social media post, like I'm too focused on like, okay, like what am I trying to convey here? What am I trying to communicate here? Is this the best way to do it? And I don't think about it. And when it launches, I'm too busy then responding to things and, coordinating other things that until someone mentions it or someone is like, oh, I noticed this. And then, sometimes you need someone else to point it out. You're like, oh, yeah, that did happen. Same thing happened for the book where like I was just so in the trenches with the book. And even when the book came out, I was like, oh, thank God. Okay, it's over. And I didn't think about it until people started like posting pictures of getting the book and actually reviewing the book and talking about why they liked the book. I was like, oh my God, I did it. So like that's kind of where I think how I feel about my current community management work. Like I understand conceptually, like I think people trust me to do this. And I guess I'm at least okay at it. But it still doesn't hit until like, something more solid kind of comes up later.
Makes sense.
I think that's part of like the indie scene as well. Because for us as podcasters, it's one of those things that like we've been doing this for almost 8 years. This show specifically, I've been podcasting for 13 years. Then other people are like, oh yeah, you're an expert in the space. Everybody knows you. And I go, I'm what? Wait, who's lying about me and saying I'm an expert? But it's like you just get there by just doing the thing.
One of my favorite things about any independent art space, whether it's games, music, nightlife performance, theater, whatever, is the opportunity, the terror and the joy of everybody getting to be fans of each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You learn about people through reputation. Doesn't matter how long people have been around, that this opportunity comes up. You meet a hero who's like heard of you and like really likes what you do. And it's the weirdest thing. I think because it's such a Byzantine maze, it remains humbling and not maddening. That's what I'm hoping.
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think also because people in the communities that the three of us are often walking in just want to share fun stuff and like work together and learn together. I think it's why Geoff and I, our ethos had often been leaning into supporting indie studios is there's camaraderie and understanding. Well, we both have a smaller audience, but maybe together we can interest those parties in each other's things and work together and learn from each other. There's also that level of excitement that I'm sure giant companies feel excitement about things too, but there's, I think, a very palpable excitement about a small team or a couple of people. I mean, just like you were saying before, Victoria, this FaceTime that you wouldn't necessarily get with a giant company that like someone could hide behind. From the moment I started interacting with any place that you were a part of, I knew that your voice was behind a lot of that stuff. And I was interacting with you and cracking jokes with you on Instagram or Twitter or whatever it was. I won't call it the other thing. And I think that's also, there's a connectiveness, right? Like there's a little of a parasocial thing there for sure that happens in this space. But I think there's also just a genuine love and camaraderie of wanting to see each other succeed that you don't always see in larger spaces.
Agreed. It is really nice. And it makes it's like that heartwarming aspect that you're like, oh, I'm not dead inside.
Not yet, at least.
Not yet.
Victoria, thank you for taking the time to chat with us. This is wonderful. I was so excited to hear that you were putting out a book. I'm so excited to now have had it and read it. I mean, I'll say it. I think you are very much a legend in this space as far as creating community. Folks know you, they know your work, and are often excited to be a part of the communities that you shepherd because of the great things you've done. And so it's so fun to see it in a book and be able to kind of live through that experience and also learn because, like I said, like a lot of folks in indie spaces, I cobbled together my knowledge of this, but to actually understand that, oh, I got this from somewhere or I learned this somewhere and like it's communicable is really, really exciting. So thank you for taking the time to chat with us. It's been wonderful to have you back here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been so nice being back and just getting to chitty chat again. It was a lot of fun. I appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate you.
I would love, before we wrap up, for you to tell folks where they can buy the book, maybe a handy URL they can type in to just go get it, and where they can find you online if you wish to be found. I mean, besides lurking in the inner sloth offices.
Lurking on socials. yeah, if you want to get my book, Mastering Community Management, the easiest way to find out where you can get it is victoriatran.com/book. You can get it on Amazon, you can get it on Bookshop, you can get it directly from my publisher, wherever you get your books, basically. And then on my socials, also, honestly, it's on victoriatran.com. And I do that thing where like my Twitter handle is different from my Blue Sky handle. I don't care about it. It's fine. But I mostly.
But the SEO.
Brand synergy,
I
who
know,
needs
the
it?
SEO. It's that this is my chaos. Oh, wow. It's all coming together.
Yeah, right.
But I am Victoria Tran on Blue Sky. So really easy to find.
Thank you again for joining us. This was wonderful. And we're sure we will see you wandering around at a future convention, but it's always a pleasure to chat with you. And we'll have to bring you back to engage in those more chaotic topics.
5 years
teetered
later.
on earlier.
Yeah.
5 years later, right? No, now every 5 years now. That's just what we have to do.
Exactly.
Exactly.
I guess. Wow. Well, at this point, we put it to you, listener. What are some of your favorite gaming communities? What are some of your favorite ways you have gotten to know the people behind the games that you love or the other people that play them? What are your favorite ways of engaging with the communities of the games around you? What do you think the gaming tea should be? Should it be everybody has a different opinion of what we should call Metroidvanias? I don't think so. But that's my take. What's your take? I'm throwing the gauntlet down. I don't know where the gauntlet went. It's an imaginary gauntlet, but you can pick it up. Can you feel the weight in your hands? Let us know if you can. Let us know how heavy it is. Let us know what it's made out of. Reach out to us. There's so many great ways to get in touch. We are Fun and Games Pod on every social media platform that we are active upon, which as of this episode is Blue Sky, Instagram, and Tumblr. You can email us at funandgamespod@gmail.com. Let us know what you thought of this episode, what you thought of previous episodes, what you'd like us to talk about, and who you'd like us to talk with on future episodes. Let us know your gaming hot takes and gaming tea that you want out there in the world. I'm now very intrigued by this. I want to find all of the meaningless but super meaningful things to get all worked up about. You can also visit certainpov.com and find not only other fantastic Certain POV podcasts, but also a permanent invite link to our Discord server where a lot of these conversations continue. We talk about the games that we have been playing and beating, and a lot of the topics for these episodes start in those chats. If you like what we do and want to support us or just want a one-stop shop of all the things that Matt and I are working on, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/funandgamespod. There is a free tier, so you don't have to give any money to get access to our RSS feed or take part in the polls that we do for what our next console retrospective is going to be. We are so grateful for all of the support that our patrons have given, and we want to shout out those on the high scoreboard. Today, the high scoreboard is Alex Lavelle, Case Aiken, Daniel Nyden, Sean Bowen, Film It Yourself, Patrick Edwards, Alejandro Alves, Curly Bright, and Chris Copleen. Thank you so much for your support. Please enter your initials. We've replaced all of the letters with emojis. We will discuss what that means after you've entered your initials. Enter your initials.
This outro is crazy.
Of course. We have fun with it. And of course, if you want another free way to support this podcast, just go to your podcast platform of choice and rate and review us. It really helps folks engage and combat the mighty algorithm to find this podcast. And when people search for a great podcast with the awesome Victoria Tran, we will jump to the top of the list because you rated and reviewed us. So please go do that.
Whether you have just read Victoria's book and want to let us know about it, whether you are a community manager yourself, a fan of video game communities, or if this is your first episode of Fun and Games, thank you so much for being here. We couldn't do this without you. This is a conversation. Thank you for being a part of it. I'm Geoff Moonen.
And I am Matt A.K. Stormageddon.
And happy gaming.
Are you tired of watching your beloved characters being tortured by careless authors?
Are you sick of feeling like they could have swapped out all of the painful action and the plot would remain untouched? Subscribe to Books That Burn, the fortnightly book review podcast focusing on fictional depictions of trauma.
We assume that the characters' reactions are reasonable and focus on how badly or well they were served by their authors.
Join us for our minor character spotlights, main character discussions, and favorite non-traumatic things in the dark books we love.
Find us on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, or wherever you get your podcasts.
CPOV. CertainPOV.com.